Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're gonna be reacting to somebody that I normally talk about on the channel, but I never really reacted to his videos ever, and it's Rena. I've watched a lot of his videos. I never really reacted to any of it, so I feel like it's full time that I actually do a reaction to this video. So, guys, please, if you can, like and subscribe, and I'm not gonna call it doing call out and stuff like that. Anyways, let's talk about something that should be coming up or is already here. The Game Awards. It's right around the corner, the 11th, and I'm interested in two specific areas. One is the what is this, best mobile game, and with it we have Destiny, Persona, Sonic, Uzumi, and Wuthering Waves. And on the other one, which is the Players Choice Award, Players Voice Award. Which is your favorite game of the year? Player's Voice is 100% fan voted award across 3 rounds. I believe we have Expedition 33, Dispatch, Hollow Knights, Genshin Impacto, and Wuthering Waves. And we'll have to see who is going to be winning. Oh, my hand just slipped. Oh my god. Who is gonna win in this one, and we have to see who is going to be winning this one as well when the time comes. My hand just slipped again. Oh my god. Oh my god. Maybe I vote. Maybe I vote. Maybe. Let's get back to the video though. We're gonna be reacting to combat events. Combat events won't combat events won't save Wuthering Waves, but stygian will. I think combat events would save Wuthering Waves. Nice, cool combat events, interesting combat events will definitely save it. Stygian, copying stygian 1-to-1 is highly possible because, as you guys know, Wuthering Waves love to copy Genshin Impact. So if you see the Genshin Impact, you're likely gonna see it in Wuthering Waves.
Be an extremely hot take. I think Wuthering Waves needs to add Stygian Onslaught to the game. That sounds kind of weird. I know a lot of people will hear Stygian Onslaught and they'll think immediately Genshin. 1, that's cringe. 2, they'll think about power creep. 3, they'll think about chilling. And I'll address all those as I talk about this. But I think legitimately, Stygian Onslaught would be so beneficial for Wuthering Waves. I'm going to talk about why. I'm going to talk about why I think we need Stygian Onslaught. I'm going to talk.
It's not why I think it would have been beneficial. I really just always glaze it for Genshin Impact itself. I never think Wuthering Waves need it. What else do Wuthering Waves need from Genshin Impact? I pretty much have everything already. I think Wuthering Waves would benefit from this game mode, absolutely. But the thing is, a lot of people gave a lot of hate for Genshin Impact for the Stygian Onslaught move when it literally benefit everybody. It benefit the whales, it benefit the free-to-play players and casuals. It was a game mode basically for everyone with good usefulness for it, and a limit to how much you can abuse it, which all around it was just a perfectly designed end game, but like people had to find some reason to hate on it.
Talk about the benefits it would bring about to the game. I'm going to talk about why, despite some of the negative things that can come from Stygian Onslaught, I think it's a net benefit to the game. But first, we're going to talk about the problem Wuthering Waves has currently. How should I put this? Basically, since 2.6, I want to say, people have been concerned about content inside of Wuthering Waves, right? People have been concerned about, well, the lack of content, right? Especially in like 2.7, if you remember that. People complaining about dry spells and whatnot. And one of the things people wanted added because of that was combat events, right? People said that they wanted combat events to help make up for this. I just played
I don't think so, because like combat events was always in Wuthering Waves before. Throughout 1.0 going up to 2.0, combat events was always in it. I think they just kind of stop focusing on combat events, focusing on events in general, started to make more casual Genshin like events and stop making as much combat events, and then start focusing more on the story. The thing that I didn't like about it is that if you're good at something, which they are good at combat, they should keep combat as it is, maintain that quality, and work on their weaker areas, but instead they limit their strengths in order to work on weaker areas, which creates this imbalance. Like, you never see this, and I mentioned this before, but you never see this with Genshin Impact, where the music quality is always pretty good, the lore is pretty good, but you never see them sacrificing the lore or the music to better the combat or anything like that. They work on everything as is, and they make sure they maintain that high standard that they always have. Like, I always have very high standards for a Genshin Impact story. Like, I have ADHD. I'm currently trying to work on an experiment where I like look at some research content anytime I feel like tired, and I only feel tired when I'm playing Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star, and Zenless Zone Zero. Not that the storytelling is bad, but like, my ADHD, I just can't focus for a long time. But Genshin somehow is the one game that I can breeze through that. And in terms of anime too, I hold it at high regards as how I would hold like a My Hero Academia story or a Demon Slayer story. I know some people say that they're not really good story, but I can tell you those two animes are just ridiculously good. The way they present themselves, the way they tie everything together, the lore of the story, the world building, the character development, everything they do is just really good. And I see that in Genshin Impact too. And these are some key things Wonder Ways is missing in their storytelling. And I really want to talk about it more, but like, as far as I am, I'm like in like 2.1 story right now. I need to catch up on that. And like, this experiment that I'm trying out, where I just, anytime I feel a little bit bored, I'm gonna like just look at a little bit of research content, and then it will get the neutrons firing, and then I should be able to power through it. And I'm also working on a 12-hour schedule where I give each game at least 1 hour per day in terms of story progression, so I can just get up back to speed with the story, so I can start reacting to content like Saint Tontas trying to doom post Genshin Impact storytelling for some reason, and I really haven't reached that part yet. I'm behind. I'm really behind, so I really need to get back into it.
The tactical hologram combat event, tactical simulacra. Off tune. I get that that's kind of like a leading into 3.0 to like help you test and learn the mechanic. I get that, but that didn't really do it for me, right? That was kind of a boring, just like go through real quick and then do an event, right? I don't think events are the issue here. I think endgame is. I think Wuthering Waves, as it stands right now, has an endgame problem. The biggest example of this, actually, there's like three problems here with endgame. First of all, no one wants to do Whimpering Wastes, right? No.
I think I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna say that the timer is just way too long. I hear that it's once per month, which is just way too long.
Nobody likes Whimpering Wastes as a game mode. I see it complained about more than I see it celebrated, right? When I think of Zenless Zone Zero, for example, people like doing Deadly Assault. They'll complain about like show buffs and whatnot, maybe rightfully so. I haven't played the game in a while, but they actually enjoy doing it. Meanwhile, I've never seen a single person ever glaze Whimpering Wastes. Do people glaze?
Because you're not watching Saint Tontas. Because you're not. If you watch Saint Tontas, that's all the glazing you need to see. You don't need to see any more glazing than that.
Tower? I don't think so either. I think they just consider it like standard endgame kind of content, right? That's not necessarily my problem with it though. The problem I have with endgame as it is in Wuthering Waves currently is that it's too easy. A lot of people are going to hear that and think I'm being elitist. There is nothing.
Yeah, you are elitist.
Wrong with having
he's really, really good at these gacha games. I can tell you that. He's really, really, really good. Like, if you want to be good at gacha games, this content creator is one of them that you should watch.
Content for people who don't want to invest more time into the game. But there's something I learned as I was playing Arknight's Enfield. Having something in your game that allows you to actually invest in that game, to learn about that game, to learn about the mechanics of the game, to actually spend more time playing the game is great for the game. Why? Well, one, it increases player retention inside of your game. It gives you something to actually strive for inside of the game. I think after playing Arknight's Enfield, I realized why so many players in the gacha scene will complain about games that kind of copy like the Genshin style of game, right? Where everything, or at least before Stygian Onslaught, everything used to be basically made for everyone to clear, right? Like, Abyss was tuned in a way to where basically everybody could clear it as long as you were drooling over your keyboard and rolling, literally just rolling over your keys, right? That's how it was tuned. The problem
Yeah, it Genshin Impact endgame was easy. Even now, right now, you can still use 4-star characters to clear endgame.
with that,
Even in stygian onslaught too, you're still seeing 4-star characters in it. Like, give credit where credit is due. Genshin Impact maintaining old characters are still viable to this day is insane feat when you think about it.
is that then you don't interact with the game in a way where you have to actually learn the game mechanics. As I'm playing Enfield, for example, I have to actually learn the mechanics of my characters. I have to actually understand my kit.
Oh yeah, what you say about the mechanics is why Xenozone Zero is so fun to play, because like it won't be fun for streamers like Santontas that just don't want to learn the character's kit and just want to pull whale on Hugo's and then its weapon, and then when he got called off for it and he don't know how to play the character, he's gonna say like, I just got the character. He didn't read the kit, didn't read how the players. He didn't do the tutorial. I don't know if he even did the tutorial. Did he did it? Well, anyways, like Xenozone Zero is complex, but if you get it right, you're gonna do good. Like, for example, my Jane though, like if you play her wrong, you're not gonna do as much damage. But if you play her right, the way she's designed to play, you're gonna do a lot of damage. It's the same thing with everybody's character. Oh my god. Xenozone Zero has given me so much happiness because they have done so much things that I never expected them to do. They buffed characters that they released that they realized that is not performing as well as they wanted it to do. And people may doom post it, but I do see it as an absolute W for a developer to understand that, yeah, I made this wrong and I should be fixing it. Same thing I could say with Dea from Genshin Impact. That is an example of how they do it wrong. Like, they made a turbo kit, and instead of like buffing the character, fixing the character, because a lot of people were anticipating that character, they decided that, oh, you know what, we're not gonna fix it. We're just gonna throw her in the standard banner. Dog shit character. Unfortunate. And it's funny that they make a character specifically to go to that standard banner, the character has to be significantly bad, which, as you can tell, the last one they made, the Mizu Zuzu, whatever her name is, that next to her showcase her ass anytime she does her ult. Like, I'm not gonna get that character anytime soon. I don't know if I even want to play that character. Maybe.
And because of that, I have a deeper connection to the game, and it's more enjoyable. It feels more rewarding for me to actually engage with the game. Wuthering Waves doesn't have that right now. Let me just show this real quick, all right?
Well,
if we go, well, actually, I don't even have to show this, but we can go over to tower real quick. If I go to tower right now, and I go try to clear tower, what's going to happen? I'm going to kill middle tower with like a minute and a half left on the timer, which is basically means I'm only taking 50% of the time, right? Actually, hold on. The best way I can demonstrate this, let me pull up this guy's channel. There's this guy named Julius. He's able to clear the entirety of tower adversity using not a single limited character. That means on middle tower, he's using Sanhua, he's using Havoc Rover, and he's using, Verena. He's using Verena, all right? So he's using Sanhua, he's using Verena, and he's using Havoc Rover. For reference, this team does roughly a third of the DPS of my Zani team, and he's able to clear middle tower. That means I only need to perform my...
But that is actually a good thing, meaning that the old characters are still valid, but that is actually a good thing.
Zani team to a third of the...
I think they should make it in a way that if you know how to play the characters, you'll be able to clear it, but if you don't know how to play the characters properly, then you'll struggle. That is the aim that these companies should focus for. But like, because it's a gacha game and they're incentivizing you, trying to incentivize you to pull characters, they will sell the problem, which is the end game, and then I messed that up. They will give you the problem, which is the end game, and then sell you the product to fix it, which is the rated up character. Like, it's gonna be happening in all gacha games, regardless. Like that is always going to happen. As long as there's a gacha system where we're rolling on the characters, it's always gonna happen. Like I see a lot of people complain about it in Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenith Zone Zero maybe. But like it is in Wither Race too. It's in all of the games. This is just the way gacha system works all the time.
Potential of that comp for me to actually clear content. How am I supposed to, as a player, gain enjoyment from doing that if I'm not actually engaging with the game? Because
So I understand what Renan mean. It's not that. I think he wants a hardcore mode, like a real hardcore mode, something that is beyond this. Because I can tell you, he's really talented in how in what he does. So I'm believing he wants something that's more of a challenge. So you take for example, he could use like Zenith Zone Zero Infinite Tower mode. That would be a good challenge mode. Deadly Assault would be a good challenge mode for Wooden Ways. Like any of these endgame moves would be really good. Anomaly in Honkai Star Rail, I don't know because that's literally just for whales. Like that is insane.
I can literally do nothing and I'll get a free clear. If I stop quick swapping, for example, I will literally clear Tower of Adversity super easily. I'll have an entire minute left. I can just stop quick swapping and I'll have an entire minute left on tower. It is so stupidly easy. I used to think that games, especially gacha games, because they're so predatory, you need to make endgame tuned in a way to where you can clear with like even like the most trash of units. I do think power creep itself is a problem. Characters like Chung Liao obviously need some love. Characters like, I mean, I guess GN got some buffs with like Yuno and Chikona. Other characters like Inlin obviously could use some love as well. But the problem is, if we always cater to these really bad characters and we make it so these really bad characters can clear, which, to be clear, in an ideal world, there just wouldn't be power creep. In an ideal world, we would just make it so these characters could always clear. The problem is, if you do that, when you're using like the better teams, you have no incentive to learn the game. What happens is, as someone playing Tower of Adversity, you go in, you log in, you one-shot every...
Sorry, I see what you mean. So it's the Maggie situation over again, because Maggie mentioned it that the newer units are getting stronger than the older units, and this is it coming to light where it may take a little bit of challenge for them to clear with the old units, but it's still clearable and they're clearing it pretty easily. But when you're using the new characters, you're just gonna be breezing through it completely because the new units are so much stronger than the old units. That's what they're saying. So that's why they'll benefit from a stygian onslaught. And I think that could work actually, where the earlier stages is catered towards the old DPSs and what they can do. And then the hardest difficulty will be catered towards the new characters and the power level that they're currently at. So it may be possible for old characters if you have sequentials on them, probably, but it would be, I think that would be, I see where you're coming from. That would be a really good, it would be really good for them to have stygian onslaught. I do believe so. I agree with you.
Floor in Tower of Adversity, and then you dip out, you get rewards, that's it. I find the mentality of trying to play endgame specifically to get rewards so unbelievably cringe and stupid. Why would I want to play endgame so I can get 2 extra pulls? That's what I want for my content playing the game. I want 2 extra pulls. That's what I want for my endgame. That's it. That is so unbelievably stupid. I would rather have a more difficult endgame that has less people clearing it. But one of the benefits of Stygian Onslaught is actually...
Oh my god, I've said this before in a video that it's just one pull. You're not missing out on too much when it comes down to getting the highest clear of any of the gacha games recently, especially Holio games. So you're not really missing up on much. And to spend like 90 pulls, like $100 to $200 on a character, so you can clear the end games to get one pull is just not valuable at all. It's better to invest that into something like trading or investments or it's way better to do that compared to like just waste your money, hundreds of dollars just to clear a game on this month only for that unit to not work the next month. and you have to buy a new unit just to clear the end game. That's the catch of the gacha system, really. You don't need to always clear the end game. If everybody just decided that, okay, we're not gonna be going for it like that, then they would be forced to like bring down the difficulty a little bit more, because it would look bad that nobody is clearing end game at the highest level. But
The fact that you don't even lose premium currency. You don't even lose premium currency if you can't kill Fearless, which is difficulty 5, and Dire, which is difficulty 6. So you're not even losing premium currency.
So he did
you
say what I'm
lose a
saying.
stat reroller, which is, if you're not doing the hardest endgame content, literally means nothing for you. So you literally lose nothing. You literally lose nothing if you can't clear it. I really like the idea of having something to strive for in the game so you can actually engage with the game. The problem Wuthering Waves,
I agree with you. Like, I've said this in the video when I made it originally, that I think stygian onslaught is really good because it gives us something to strive for. Like, how far can we get into this as a free-to-play player? It might suck, yeah, when you realize that it's a little bit difficult to get there, but it is challenging. Even the little competition where I have with my friends, where I can see, okay, my friends did this amount of time or that amount of time. Can I do a faster time than them? Am I gonna do a slower time than them? It's cool. And I say, for instance, Genshin Impact, they're not using the meta teams. They're using like different unique teams that kind of fill the category, like fill the gap, but at the same time, it's not them. Yeah, sure, they're not gonna be going up to the highest level, but they are not like mega whales. So I understand that. And pretty much we're just playing for the primos. Maybe we go try out the harder difficulties 1 or 2 times, but like, it is what it is.
has right now is that if you look at this, even happened today. If you go back in the VOD that we had today, there are so many people, as we were talking about tunability, for example, I was talking about how tunability is bad for quick swapping because it interrupts the flow. It'll ruin aerial characters, for example, right? And as I was doing that, as I was saying that, people were saying,
That's
well, then
interesting.
just don't quick swap, LOL. Just don't play the game optimally, LOL. Most players don't quick swap. That mentality is only fostered because we have a community right now that doesn't care about actually learning the game, actually playing the game properly, and actually interacting with the game itself. I almost consider it like, how should I word this? I think if you're legitimately someone who enjoys the game, I think if you're legitimately someone who finds Wuthering Waves combat fun, you should also, or generally should be, someone who would want to engage with that combat more, no? Why would you want to log into Tower to play the game for half a second and then dip out? Why wouldn't you want to learn things like quick swap? What is wrong with trying?
Yeah, that's true. Like, Saint Tontas was crying, complaining about it recently, saying that how Honkai Star players want other ways to be a streamlined game so they can just play it as a side game, and then they go back and theory craft on Honkai Star Rails to not let the boss tell them to go screw themselves, which is absolutely right on that. Like, people have more to work on when it comes down to Honkai Star Endgame, because you're constantly probably having to build your team and try to find workaround on how to deal with this boss or that boss without wailing, that is. So I do believe that an end game where there's a challenge where you can actually progress to is absolutely better than something that is an automatic clear. Like, you go on and then you say, okay, I cleared, that's it, I'm gone, dip. Like, you have to like think when it comes down to any Hoyo game that you're playing now, and that's the only difference between end game of Hoyo and the end game of Kuro, is that you don't really have to think for Kuro. All you just need to know is your team mechanic, your team fighting style, and like the patterns of the boss. And once you nail those two things down, the job is done, and then nothing to do after that.
To learn that? Why is that not enjoyable to you? And then my follow-up question for you guys to think about, if that's not enjoyable for you, well then this endgame mode doesn't necessarily have to be for you. You can just clear Tower of Adversity and Whimpering Waste and get the primos from there, much like Stygian Onslaught doesn't give you the, or Ashray rather, Stygian Onslaught doesn't give you the Ashray, right? For the harder two that are supposed to be for the more sweaty players. That's fine. You don't lose anything from that. But it gives a new thing for people to strive for in the game. People
Yes,
are
that's
complaining
true.
about not having events. People are complaining about not having actual content in the game because they don't have anything to strive for in the game currently. Endgame as it stands serves basically no purpose. You've been talking to Io about this? I actually have not. I've not spoken a single word to Io about this. I did want to have a conversation about him because I figured he probably had similar feelings to me, but that was a conversation we were going to have with Razor, actually. It was going to be me, Razor, and Io. But Razor ended up canceling on that one, so we didn't talk about it. I guess I could have continued it with Io, but maybe another day. Actually, you know what? That might be a good idea. Maybe I'll talk to Io about this. But back to my point. There can be depth inside of Wuthering Waves. Actually, you know what? No. Let me talk about this. As I was playing Genshin Impact.
Yeah. Slime Boy, I can see Jade. I feel like they should also add leaderboards also. It's good, but it's bad because some people are gonna feel FOMO from it and like depressed seeing people clear it and not. But I did mention it though. The leaderboard system between our friends, my friends that I have, and like seeing their times and thinking like, can I get better time than that? What am I doing to make my time worse? The thing that I really like about Stygian Onslaught is that you can take multiple rounds, multiple hit at it, and try to like optimize your time when it comes down to your rotations of your team and how fast can you clear the boss, stuff like that. I really like that concept of it. And like when I get a new record and I see, oh, I got a new record because I played a little bit optimally, or maybe I crit more in this instant, it really feels good. My main problem that I have with it is probably that I can't over farm on the relics because you have a cap to it. I would have loved it to be increased a little bit more. Not the rewards on it in particular, but just increase a little bit more because it's really fun. The ability to just farm any single artifact in the game, regardless of how new it is, by just simply just selecting it. It's a really cool feature. And I understand why they can limit it is because it's just too good of a feature. That's why they limit it. I just think they should increase it.
One of the most fun experiences I had was doing the 7-day challenge, if you guys remember that. Basically, I did the same exact thing I did in Wuthering Waves, where I beat the game in 7 days, just trying to speedrun the end game. Except I did it on my returning account because obviously that game's 5 years old. I didn't feel like grinding up that much, right? But as I was doing that, I had to learn the game's mechanics. Genshin is a game where a lot of people would complain about how little depth there is, right? But I learned so much playing that game.
Yeah, that's the idiots. That's the idiots. Because as I said, like Genshin Impact is way more complex than Wuthering Waves. The most complex out of the four, which is Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, Zenith Zero, and Wuthering Waves, is Zenith Zero. A reason why is because almost every single character plays a certain way, and you have to learn how that character works in the tutorial. And once you nail that down, you will do a ton of damage. But if you don't, you get heavily punished for it. And the same thing with the boss mechanics too. If you don't understand the boss mechanics, you're gonna get heavily punished for it. But if you do, you're gonna get heavily rewarded for it as well. So Zenith Zero is the most sweaty game out of the four of them. Wuthering Waves is just simple mechanics. All you need to do is just dodge, parry, skill, ult, that's it. Boss dead. Genshin Impact, it's a spreadsheet for science kids, basically. Matching elements, reaction based. You can teach a school on it. There's academy for Genshin Impact, honestly. Real life academy, honestly. Honkai Star Rail, oh my god. There's so much. That is a whole different story.
I learned about having to drop my Dendro Core so I could spawn or make the crab fall instantly, right? I had to drop the Dendro Core instantly in an exact location so I can make the crab fall faster. I had to learn how to position my Nefer so I could properly cleave the bloom cores as I was trying to break the crab so he would come down faster. I had to learn to triple burst on my flints. There was so many. There's even more than that. I had to learn to position my Zhongli pillar away so the boss wouldn't break it, so I'd constantly get depoted. I had to learn how to rotate my character properly. This is
Yes, that sounds out of context. So you can constantly get depoted by Zhongli.
is not depth I experience inside of Wuthering Waves because there's nowhere for me to express the depth inside of this game. I don't have to know how to quick swap properly because all the content in the game is too easy. I don't even get to engage with the game's actual systems because of that. People talk about Genshin like there's nothing to do. There's no skill expression, right? Everything I felt there was skill expression. And there's even more past that. That was only for Abyss. I had to do all that sweating just for Abyss. Why? Because my account was complete trash. And because of that, I had a great, amazing time with the game. I learned so much about the game systems. I learned so much about...
I remember this way back when, before Wooden Ways launch, that a content creator is one of the famous one from PGR that transition. The guy that normally does the 1 HP challenges said that like maybe Wooden Ways is not gonna be as easy as hard as PGR. Maybe it's gonna be more easy to bring in Genshin Impact players. So in order for you to enjoy Wooden Ways properly, you probably have to go into endgame under level so that it feels a lot more engaging. I did remember that. That's what way back when though.
My characters, and it was legitimately fun. I felt the progression in real time. It was actually super enjoyable. By the way, that video is coming out soon. Literally the best video I've ever made. Definitely look forward to it. It is better than the Wuwa 7 days video, by the way. That Genshin video, literally the best video I've ever made. It'll be coming out probably...
I'll be watching it. I don't know if you have it out yet.
Around Columbina release, maybe slightly before that, around that time. The point I'm getting
I
at
don't think it's out
is that
yet.
Wuthering Waves needs something for you to actually struggle in, so that way you can legitimately enjoy what the game has to offer. The
That's
reason why
true.
so many people don't care about quick swapping is because there's...
I have to admit, they have that with holograms. They did a fantastic job with holograms. But the problem is, holograms is just one and done. After you completed it, it's just a set. But they had that with holograms. Holograms, beautiful. Well done. They should have utilized what they did in holograms and make it into an end game. That would be fun.
nothing for you to quick swap in. Where are you supposed to quick swap in this game? Power doesn't give you a reason.
Imagine a 1 HP challenge. That would be really cool. A 1 HP challenge that is an endgame mode where you just can't get hit. If you get hit one time, it's done. A lot of people will hate it, but I think it would be really cool.
In a quick swap, you kill that shit with the most brain dead team. I can throw in my Camellia right now, do standard 1, 2, 3, and it's dead. And there are team comps that do more than 50% more damage than Camellia. So I'm not learning anything there. Whimpering Waste doesn't offer any legitimate challenge. No one cares about grinding points in there. And that's because we've essentially fostered a community because we have like this everyone needs to get rewards mentality. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's almost like a participation trophy in a way. Everyone has to get, like, some sort of reward.
I've always said it. Entitlement.
But the nice thing about Stygian is that there are no rewards to get. There's nothing for you to aim for. So it's literally just getting better. One of the other things I've noticed too, do you guys know how many times people have said or complained about Zani, for example, and said like Zani's a bad character or Zani is super clunky? The reason why they say this is because they don't understand how to play Zani. I've showed you guys time and time again. Zani is literally the strongest DPS in the game, by the way. Literally has the most DPS in the game if you play properly. But most people in this community don't know that. Why? Because they don't see other...
Because they don't like to read. They don't like to read. It's daunting situation to try to read. Zani is very strong. I didn't pull her because... I don't know why I didn't pull her. Because it's the time that I quit. It was the anniversary. I was pissed off about the anniversary. Every time I log in a new patch and I see those standard pulls and the 7-day login, it just pissed me off. So there's a lot of things that pissed me off on that anniversary. And I don't really regret leaving, but I was just not feeling it at the time.
People sweating using Zani to actually clear stuff fast because there's no reason for them to. Meanwhile, if you go over to Genshin Impact, for example, what's going to happen? People know what the Moviga charge attack combo is, right? Even casual players know that. How many casual players know that 4 Nightfall is a rotation you can do on Zani? Nobody? Almost nobody. I doubt even half my chat know it, and I do it like half the time I'm playing Zani. Because there's no endgame content for people to actually sweat on.
I really understand what when I say it. It's because we don't have the incentive to try. So people are just going to go in and just smash buttons and just leave. It's the Zenless don't see. It's weird because in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. But just joking. In the beginning, when Xenozone Zero and Wither Waves launched, because both of them launched pretty much around the same time. Xenozone Zero was regarded as the smash button game, easy game, while Wither Waves is a complex game. Fast forward a year plus, and now Wither Waves is a smash button easy game, while Xenozone Zero is a complex game. The difference between the two and how much they have drastically changed is ridiculous, and I would have never saw it, but it's interesting to be alive. It's interesting to see this.
These things never get discussed. There is no meta progression. Most people aren't in tune with the meta, and as a result, there's less content to talk about inside Wuthering Waves. It makes content in Wuthering Waves stale. It makes it so you guys engage less with the game. I wish they added more mechanics that force us to approach bosses differently instead of just helping us with DPS with more buttons. That's actually what I was just talking about in
Yeah, but see, they would say it's predatory.
Genshin, right? Like, the crab is a completely unique boss where I had to spawn the Dendro Core in a certain location, right? By hitting.
I've mentioned this crab in passing in my videos, and how pissed I am that I have to build a Dendro team. I have the tools to do it. I always say I have the tools to do it, but I just didn't do it throughout the years. And now I am down on the ground looking up at a crab in the middle of the year telling me that, oh yeah, you didn't build you didn't build a Hyperbloom team? Screw you. And here I am having to build an Hyperbloom team. It is what it is, man. Like, it have its benefits, but it can feel daunting to players that don't have a lot of team build, so they can't clear this specific end game because that they don't have this puzzle piece right now. So I can see it being a problem. It's literally already played out in Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, and Xenozone Zero already. So the gameplay is there. Like, it would be nice if they do it. It would be nice if they give the enemies a little bit more love. Like, I literally saw it in 3.0 where I was saying that, you know what the boss would benefit from? Using AI. I know, calm down. Using AI to use on the boss so the boss can use his move depending on where the character is. So I did see it where the character was way out in the circle, out of the circle, and then the boss is just like doing a routine of his movement, and then he throw down the sword at pretty much nobody, fly down and swing at nobody. It feels basic. Having a setup that the boss, instead of just going through its moves at set intervals, it calculates its decision based on where you are, will make the fight way much more interesting, and it doesn't have to really build up the HPs of the boss to make it more difficult, because it will feel a lot more engaging and each fight will not feel the exact same, which will bring so much life to the game. There's so much things Wuthering Waves can implement that can make the end game and the game itself feel really interested if they just implement it. Like, that is one example. I'm sure many people here have a lot of good example of things that they can implement that could make the end game really cool. But like, that's my opinion. Does
it before it goes up, I'd spawn it at an exact time to get it so the bloom pops so I can drop the crab faster, right? Or like, I had to abuse the extra energy regen I got on the other side from the soldier so I could do another extra flints combo, right? Bosses like that don't exist in Wuthering Waves right now, and I think that's one of the best ways they can expand the game by making it so I actually have to change my rotations relative to like boss patterns or like things that bosses do, or maybe I even have to change team comps relative to like certain bosses or mechanics in the game. It's a good thing. It adds depth to the game and it lets me explore what the game has to offer more. I can interact more with the system.
That's absolutely true.
There's a guy I've been watching recently. His name is Limbo Sauce. What he does is he constantly does Stygian clears for his viewers, right? He'll constantly do Fearless and Dire clears. He's fostered a community of people who will not only watch that content, but will also like doing that content themselves, right? They want to try and clear Stygian and Dire. There's people more invested in the actual meta of the game as a result. The meta of the game progresses. Everyone is having a much more fun time playing the game as a result. When is the last time you guys had a meta discussion in Wuthering Waves? How often does that happen? How often do you hear people talking about Zoni and like constantly pausing bosses or like being able to like vibration break like a
It, I've heard it, but it's always about the new unit. It's always about this character is insane. You need X character to make this character. It's never about the gameplay itself. It's always about the new upcoming unit. Like many times when I watch, because I do watch a lot of content for a lot of content creators, any kind of guide about a new character that's coming up or something like a new update in Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, as in its own zero. From time to time, you'll have something that come out, some character that come out, some relic, artifact, whatever you want to call it, that specifically indirectly give a buff to an old character that is going to be able to utilize this very well. Yeah, granted, he did mention it once for whatever it is, but I see it a lot in Genshin Impact and Hoyo games in particular. And the way whatever is setting up themselves currently, where they're building these echoes that are way too specific, the negative status way too specific, and now we're moving into a new region where we're using a new status that is just going to be way too specific again, depending, I'm not sure, it's too early to tell, but
boss before it can even start moving. How often do you hear that? Virtually
I
never,
had to pause
right?
the video. I don't
Meanwhile,
remember
if I
what I
go
was
over
talking
into
about.
a Genshin
ADHD.
chat, I'll hear talk about this all the time. Even if I go to Zenless Zone Zero, I'll hear the same exact talk like this. I want to see this type of thing in Wuthering Waves. That's why I want to see something like a Stygian Onslaught in this. Stygian Onslaught needs to exist in Wuthering Waves. There are obviously problems with Stygian Onslaught. It is true that some people are going to end up spending more on the game as a result of trying to chase the clear, even if there are no rewards on it, right? It will be a more predatory endgame mode as a result. But let's be serious for a second, all right? We're playing a gacha game. This game is insanely predatory, no matter how you want to slice or dice it, right? This game is predatory no matter what. So I don't think that's a good excuse, because I would rather have a more quality game than a less predatory one. I would rather have a better quality game that is more predatory than a less quality game that is less predatory. And this is shown basically everywhere. There's a reason why gacha games are so prevalent right now. Or gacha is just so prevalent as a whole. People care more about the actual quality of something than they do about how predatory it is. There are going to be like downsides with like power creep and stuff. I think Kuro could just, I mean, obviously it's a company at the end of the day, so it's not even in their best interest to address power creep. I would rather the power creep just exist in that case, and I would rather just have to use the new units to clear if that's what it takes for me to actually engage in the endgame in a meaningful way. In an ideal world, there just wouldn't be power creep. In an ideal world, I'd clear this endgame using Sheng Liao and Lin, right? That would be an ideal world. The unfortunate reality is these companies are always here to fuck you. Every gacha is here to fuck you. I would rather tank the predatory.
Okay, so he did come to the point that I was saying. It's like they're just gonna always do that because it's in their design to make sure that you spend money.
Practices though. I would rather be forced to pull for newer characters. As a result of them adding Stygian Onslaught into Wuthering Waves, that means they're going to have more boss mechanics added to the game. Just like in Genshin Impact, they're going to have more likely than not like shield buffs or like specific character tailored buffs, right? I'm not a fan of those personally. Obviously, that's one of the biggest downsides of Stygian Onslaught, but I still think I would rather have a Stygian Onslaught exist in the game and those mechanics exist inside of Stygian Onslaught than have that not exist at all whatsoever. There is no reason why I would voluntarily deprive myself from the experience of being able to chase for an endgame like that instead of, actually, let me say this. If I felt it was too predatory, or if I felt like I had to go for like too specific of characters, or if I felt it was unreasonable, I would rather just quit the game at that point, right? Or just not engage with that endgame mode. I would rather the game mode exists. If it's balanced, that would be great, but
I think Genshin Impact, and I'm gonna say it again, did a fantastic job with balancing this endgame mode. It literally made an endgame mode for everybody, but people still complain somehow because like the reward for clearing the highest difficulty of Dire stage is something that is temporary, that only you and a few people is gonna see. And after 41 days, it's just gone. It holds no value, yet so much people crash out about it and was pissed that they couldn't get this temporary thing. And this is because of entitlement. people think that they're disturbed, they're entitled to all the rewards from an end game move because they played the game alone. Well, that's not the case. Like an end game move where you're challenged or you're forced, or it gives you a challenge to clear, and that's absolutely beautiful. Maybe they went out of hand with it, with trying to shill for the newest unit, but I think it's still pretty good what they have done. Some of them have done in terms of making content for people to strive for. Having is I've always made this analogy, like if you had $10 billion right now, life would be very boring for you because everything that you can ever think of wanting, you can just get it. So it just becomes boring. This is why I see so much of these celebrities, they do drugs and stuff like that, and you wonder, why do they do these drugs and stuff like that, and they have so much money? It's because they have no goals left. They everything they've already accomplished, and then life has become absolutely boring, and you just have nothing to enjoy in life.
Even if it weren't balanced, I would still take a non-balanced endgame mode over no endgame mode. Because as it stands, I don't consider Tower of Adversity or Whimpering Race real endgame content. And most players don't either, because no one actually sweats to do this content. We view it as a means of giving us pulls for the game. I don't understand the mentality of wanting to get 2 extra pulls from endgame. Like, the difference between you 30 starring and 36 starring is literally you getting... Actually, let me double check. What is this? Like 200 jades, which is literally a single pull.
It's a single
Like
pull,
it's
yeah.
actually crazy.
It's
Actually, no, I
one
think it's
pull.
150. That's not even a single pull. That's not
What?
even a single pull. Let me double check. Yeah,
No,
no,
it's-
it's literally.
Oh
100. It's not even. It's half a pull. It is half a pull.
Oh,
you get half a pull
shit.
from going from 30 to 36. I want a better quality game. I
Oh,
want something I
no.
should actually have to sweat for. I want to be.
Oh shit! I didn't know it was that bad. I think it was a. Well, that's not good.
Able to show my skills.
I'm not gonna do
And
posts.
I want other people to
about it.
care about the
It
actual
is.
end game and the combat inside of the game because there's something for them to strive for inside of the game. And that's a feeling I had that feeling when I went back to Genshin and I actually had to learn stuff there. I had that same exact feeling when I went to HSR and I had to learn stuff there. But the problem is, as Wuthering Waves is set up currently, I don't get that feeling here, which is really sad too, because this is the game I'm probably most knowledgeable about. Or it is the game I'm most knowledgeable about right now, right? Like, I have multiple records in this game. I'm literally world record holder deluxe over here, bro. I'm that guy. But I can't even
Yeah, he's
express
really
that in
good.
this game. There's nothing for me to express that in. What am I supposed to do? What are other people supposed to do to get interested in this stuff? Nothing? That's why I don't consider those modes as endgame content. It's just refreshable content for me. Yeah, that's the problem, though. People don't know about how Zani is literally the strongest character in the game because there is nothing for them to use that Zani or have to learn that Zani in. They don't understand. They don't even want to learn Quick Swap because there's nothing for them to use that Quick Swap in because it's so easy to clear otherwise. There's no reason for anyone to learn Quick Swap, right? Outside of the fact that they want to.
And it's okay. Like it's hard to say this, but like it's not a fault on the players for not wanting to learn these new mechanics because like it takes a lot of time to learn the new mechanics. It's like, why learn the new mechanic when just cheesing it works? So people are just gonna cheese it regardless, unless the game forces you to learn the mechanics. You will not go out of your way to learn the mechanics. Like, I'm gonna give a real world example again. I'm giving way too much, but like when I played PUBG Mobile, esports, going into esports level, or like trying to hit Conqueror for the first time, I end up watching a lot of guides because like it's something that I was aiming towards. Like if I would just came on Genshin, PUBG Mobile, and I was just okay with just playing the game, I didn't really care for the rank or anything like that, I wouldn't not go for as much guide videos as I went for when I was in my esports phase at the time when it comes down to PUBG Mobile. And it's the same thing here. Like, if there's no purpose, if there's no desire, if I'm clearing everything already, there is no reason for me to look into how to get the best rotations and stuff like that for whatever ways, or to play my team optimally or something like that. There would be no need for it because like I can clear everything already, so it doesn't make any sense for me to invest in it. And it's a smart decision too.
There's no endgame content for them to actually aim for to be rewarded for doing that. In Arknight's Enfield, I've been rewarded so much with every system I learn. As I learned how to dodge better or like space out my attacks and whatnot, right? Read more of the enemy boss patterns. I've had an easier time not dying in combat as I've learned how to manage my stacks on, say, Surtur, for example, or Levitain, rather. I have felt so much better in how well the combat ends up flowing, right? I feel so much better in terms of like how fast I kill stuff. It's a great feeling to be able to learn the game like that. But nothing exists like that currently for me in Wuthering Waves, and that's the case for a lot of people too. It's the reason why so many people are begging, literally begging for content. We are begging for combat events, but I don't think combat events solve that itch. I don't think combat events do anything for you because you're not actually learning anything from the combat events. It's when you actually learn and have to engage with the systems of the game that the game itself actually becomes fun, right? As you are learning how to play, say like your Zani comp, right? Your Zani Phoebe comp, that's when you were learning how to play the game. That's when it was fun, right? As you were learning how to rotate in your Camellia comp and rotate with Sanhua and min-max so you can clear Whimpering Waste for the first time. That's when the game became fun, right? Then you hit the end game. Then there was nothing for you to do. Then you went on maintenance mode. I agree, people discovered so many things and new strategies because of Stygian, because they had to actually try. Amber was the MVP by one boss because of her unique pyro application. Another example of that, Bishul. Bishul and Zhongli have a special interaction on the deer that lets them be used in comps that they wouldn't normally otherwise because they auto-attack so fast, they can actually proc the mechanic of the deer to let certain teams be able to actually clear that wouldn't normally be able to clear, right? Because we don't have a Stygian mode in this game, we can't even discover the stuff because there's nothing for us to discover. The only reason I discovered like or even engaged with the mechanics on the crab, for example, is because the crab fight was so hard that I had to learn exactly the timing on when to drop the Dendro Core. The only reason I learned that I had to triple burst on Flynn's, right, was because the fight was so hard that if I didn't triple burst on Flynn's, I wasn't gonna have the DPS to clear. I didn't realize this is something I wanted in gacha games until I played Enfield. It sounds like I'm glazing the fuck out of the game, and I am. I'm gonna make it on launch for a reason, but
Yeah, you are, but I think you're absolutely right. Like, if the challenge is not there, you're just not incentivized to do it. I absolutely agree with you on that take.
I want to see a lot of the things that I love about Enfield implemented in other games too. I want to see what makes Enfield so fun, which is learning about the game and actually, or rather, that is what makes Enfield so fun. What makes Enfield so fun is that I'm learning about the game, and every time I learn about the game, I'm rewarded. I want that same feeling of Wuthering Waves. I want to learn something new about Quickswap as I try to clear some new endgame content. But I can't do that. No one can do that. No one does that. You don't see any streamers trying to engage with the meta at all whatsoever.
No.
Nobody does that. Where when Zmi showed me how bored I am with regular gacha games,
Bro, I've seen Saint Tontas do it. Like, Saint Tontas used to utilize the bug in Wuthering Waves where you can just use the wheel so it can spawn in the new enemies and the Whimpering Race. I've seen Saint Tontas use that. So they've utilized the bug. And this is the thing that I don't like with Wuthering Waves too. Is like useful bugs, they will patch out of the game too fast. Like the useful bug where in the earlier days in Wuthering Waves where you could have looked a little bit closer on the character's personality on the character screen, they patched it out way too fast before I could even make content on it. And then they patched out this thing that was helping out high ping players probably. So Genshin Impact figured this out better, that like, and Minecraft too, like if the bug that they didn't intend to happen is useful to the community, they will keep it in the game. And it has happened in Genshin Impact, it has happened in Minecraft, it has not happened in Wuthering Waves. In fact, they make sure to patch that thing very fast.
A lie. I'm not bored with regular gacha games. Like, they're still fun in their own regard. Like, Wuthering Waves is still like fun to play occasionally, but it does get annoying when I can't engage with a lot of the systems and I'm basically just in like maintenance mode, right? That's why, like, even if, let's say, the combat in Genshin is worse than Wuthering Waves, right? Which, yes and no. I think there are trade-offs. I think there's reasons why I like each game. I like how fast Wuthering Waves is. I like how there's more depth in the Genshin system. But let's say, for the sake of this, Wuthering Waves is more fun than Genshin. I don't get to engage in that fun. I don't get to do anything. In Genshin, I get to go do the 7-day challenge. I get to go do Abyss. I get to go do Stygian after that. I get to go do Theater. In Wuthering Waves, I get to do Whimpering Wastes, which is a game mode nobody likes. And I can do Tower of Adversity, which is a currency collector. How am I supposed to have fun doing that? Wuthering Waves combat is holding itself back? What do you mean by that? Do you mean that Wuthering Waves itself has like good combat, but there's nothing in the game to like showcase that combat. If that's what you're saying, I agree. That's why I think that we need Stygian Onslaught. I think Stygian.
All right, guys. Let me pause for a second. I need to complete my dailies in Genshin Impact and be right back. It will only take a minute. Oh, the beauty of ADHD, waiting until the last minute to clear your dailies.
Stygian Onslaught legitimately solves so many issues. One of the biggest issues I have with the Consecrator with this game right now is that I can't do anything with the game because no one is interested in actually playing the game itself. I feel like people are more infatuated with the idea of Wuthering Waves recently than the actual like game of Wuthering Waves itself.
That's true. And that's the situation that Tectone, Asmongold, Sainton, Tuscalave, Kiev, and others have cultivated. It has taken the idea of, apart from what it was a good game, and turned it into a weapon to put hate on Hoyo game or anything that Hoyo does. It's their vehicle until they decide to quit it and jump to something else, because 3.0 is normally the region that they decided that okay, they're gonna jump ship. And I'm curious to see what is going to be the catalyst for them to jump ship and go to another game. And by the time that happens, it will be a benefit for whatever it is, because like they'll be able to actually hear what the people want and start implementing fixes towards this, because the devs do listen 100%. It's just the devs are listening to some people that are not really playing the game but are just wanting to get things that is basically there to streamline the game so that they can use the free time to hate on Hoyo. It's just unfortunate.
Which is not something I feel when I play Hoyo games or Arknights, for example, right? People will like Arknights, really like that IP, right? And they'll talk about the game all the time. People will play Genshin, love that game, and they'll talk about it all the time. People play HSR, love that game, they'll talk about it all the time, right? They'll talk about meta, they'll talk about characters, they'll talk about all this stuff, right? I have played Wuthering Waves for 7 or 8 months at this point. I feel like people don't engage with Wuthering Waves in the same way I see them engaging with the other gacha game, which as a content creator feels really bad because it means
so you're literally throwing shit at Saint Tontas. Yes, it's true. They're not focusing on Wuthering Waves. They're just focusing on Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenithal Zero.
Means I can't make that.
I know I'm doing the exact same thing. I know, but like I have to be the balance for now. Like I am focusing on like branching out and becoming fully Hoyoverse content creator. It takes time.
The only type of content I can make is like guides for release day, and that's about it. Easy had Deadly Assault and Shio. It's so fun when you look at Wuwa Tower. It's boring as fuck. I feel like Wuwa kind of shoots itself in the foot too with like its boss designs as well, not like changing how you actually engage with the fight. Like I brought up the crab fight, for example. That completely changes how I engage.
I was right. I mentioned this in the video. I don't remember which one of it was behind the fact. I think it was the reaction to the 3.0 that the boss just don't really feel engaging. It still feels like the exact same fighting style from day one. Nothing really has changed. And I feel like they just put way too much effort, which is good, into the characters and very little effort into the boss. So the boss just feel like generic NPC you're fighting. I don't feel anything unique about it. Like the mere change that I didn't mention, I think it was in this video. I don't remember if it's this video or the video. Maybe. I think it's this video. This video is so long. I yap way too much, but it's because I'm so passionate about this. But I think if they implement just this simple change in like making the boss think based on where a character is the move that the boss will make, will completely change up the fighting style completely and make the fight 100% more interesting. Because say for example, I know that the boss is gonna do these moves, which are close range move, so I just jump out of the way and go a good distance away so he can clear these moves. And then all of a sudden the boss has decided, okay, wait, no, you're not using your brain on me. I'm gonna come all the way over your ass and I'm gonna start slapping you right in front of your face. That change alone, or for the boss to start using range attack that will punish you if you're trying to cheese it, mechanic like that will feel predatory for people that have no skills. But for anybody that's actually talented and actually want a challenge for playing the game, it will feel like such a breath of fresh air. It's just insane. It's a simple
Right? I
change
should do a
too.
completely different mechanic at the start. I had to play Nefer completely differently during the actual core phase, right? When I'm trying to get the cores back into the crab, I have to change how I play Nefer completely. Yeah, another aspect of the endgame too is that it's on a, well, both of the endgame modes are on a 1 month cooldown, right?
There it is. I mentioned it at the start of the video, and I mentioned it at the end of the video. It's too long. It is way too long of a dead time for them. And it was perfect before. Wuwa changed it up when they introduced Wuwa, and I think they did that because they didn't want to give out too much polls per patch. It just, oh my god, bro.
One of the other ways they can alleviate it, if they're not going to add Stygian Onslaught, which Stygian Onslaught would help that because it would also be rotating, they could just make it so each game mode is on like a 2-week cooldown, right? I would prefer they didn't do that because I think Stygian would be way more interesting than just like refreshing currency. But at least having something you can aim for every other week for each game mode, well, technically it'd be weekly, right? Because you do 1 week would be Whimpering Waste, and the next tower, then Whimpering Waste again, right? If they were to do that, there would be more to do in the game, but it would be kind of artificial. I really want them to add Stygian Onslaught to this game. I think it is legitimately the best thing they can do. I think the only reason you would be against,
I think it's 50-50 because, as we know, Wuthering Waves is heavily inspired by Genshin Impact, so it's highly likely that the game will come here. But the negative reaction, negative feedback that Stygian Onslaught got from a lot of these Wuthering Waves haters, these Hoyo haters, will maybe make them change their mind. But then again, Genshin Impact TGC system, these same bad actors hated the hell out of it, and as soon as they come into Wuwa, they liked it. Granted, they are not playing it right now, but they still viewed it positively. So maybe there's a chance it can come in and actually work. And if that happens, then it will be the perfect endgame move, because the endgame mode is so perfect for me because it catered to everybody. It made sure that the free to play and the casuals get the polls that needed, and it doesn't give something that is too much of a free FOMO item for the high end for the dire difficulty. It's just something that is gonna just bragging rights for other people that will disappear in 41 days. I think they nailed it out of the park, and I think people doom posted on it way too much.
them adding Stygian Onslaught,
Because people just expect that they're gonna just clear all content, and once they can't clear all content, regardless of their investment on the team, they're gonna say like it's predatory.
well, there's one charitable reason, which is you're against like the predatory practices, which I agree with,
So he didn't mention it. Great.
but
I didn't
I'm
watch this
willing to
video
tank
though.
those predatory practices if it means we get a better game. And gacha games are predatory at its base, so I don't think it really changes that much, honestly. Like, if you're going to pull in the games, you're probably going to pull regardless. Let's be honest, right? Like, if you're going to spend money pulling in a gacha game, you're probably pulling anyway. So I don't really view that as changing too much. Like, how much money have they made off Stygian? I don't know. Maybe like some amount, but nowhere near like how much they were making before it. I just think it's more interesting for me to engage with. The non-charitable
I don't think it matters because like the whales are not finding any difficulty in the game mode completely. They have no incentive to spend other than just to spend. Like literally. Like I see people buy like so much Lycons of Akron or Firefly in Honkai Star Rail that it's not gonna really benefit their account absolutely just to buy it. Another thing that comes down to the filthy rich people that just have so much money they just don't know what to do with it. There's adding a extremely difficult game mode. It's not gonna incentivize them to spend more. It's just like, and it's not gonna incentivize somebody that's not spending as much to start spending more, because a lot of people can budget and realize that okay, they're gonna go over their initial amount of money they were willing to spend. Yes, there are exceptions that decide to spend their marriage money on foreign and stuff like that, but that's 1 in 2 cases that don't really understand the proper etiquette of managing money.
Charitable version though is the fact that I just mentioned Stygian, so it's Genshin adjacent, so so people aren't gonna want it. But I really think it would solve a lot of the issues we have right now with Wuthering Waves. I think adding that extra layer of combat for people to aim for to help them engage with the game more, so they can learn more about Wuthering Waves, so they can express more of the skill inside of Wuthering Waves, so they can engage with the combat that they say that they love so much more, right? So you can play your Carthethian more. So you can learn how to play the comp more optimally. So you can enjoy more of what the game has to offer. Is a good thing. I want that. I want to be able to play the game more. I want to be able to engage in more meaningful combat. And if the game props that up, then I can do more of that as a content creator as well by teaching other people how to do it. Right now, if I teach other people to quick swap, for example, who the fuck wants to quick swap? Nobody, because there's nothing to quick swap for. There's a middle ground, just don't have an endgame that has gems. You could always do that. You could always make it so endgames don't have currency attached to it, but gacha games do that because there's an inherent sense of FOMO. But remember, Stygian doesn't have that for Fearless or Dire. Gems aren't even like a concern for adding the endgame mode. The only concern is the fact that it's much harder, and I do hope they add an endgame mode in 3.0. That was one of the things I was looking out for in the gameplay thing. I was hoping they would add one. I think the issue is a lot of vocal and prominent community members got into Wuthering Waves because it's better than Hoyo, not for the actual engagement and enjoyment. I actually agree with that completely. Which is why I was saying, like, Wuthering Waves is, like, used as a shield to attack, like, Hoyo or, like, Genshin so often. I find it...
That, like, why is this, like, it should have been like... But this is exactly what I've been saying. Like, they're using Hoyo, Wuwa, as a tool. Apologies, it's very late right now. They're using Wuwa as a tool to attack Hoyo. So it just stifles any real progression the game can make, because it just festers this extremely toxic community that's just sitting on Wuthering Waves as representing them, putting a bad name in the mouth for Wuthering Waves, making it difficult for them to gain new players because they overglaze the game. And when people come in and see the problems of the game, they realize that, okay, they got scammed, they quit. I've mentioned this countless times. Like, I used to be a mobile gamer before we have top quality games like Genshin Impact and others. Like, when you see gameplay of a certain game on Android, you used to be like, is this the real image of the game, or is this just a copy? And if you're representing a game poorly and then it comes out worse than you glaze it, then people are just gonna decide that, okay, you scammed me, I'm gonna quit the game, uninstall, gone. Wuwa will not grow properly until these bad actors come off Wuwa and decide to jump ship with some kind of incident that is gonna come out in the near future. I just have the feeling in my bone. I know it's coming. The thing I just don't know what will it be about. I don't think it's gonna. Maybe it's the optimization. Maybe it's the way the teams are specifically built. So highly likely that. Maybe it's the fact that every single time a new character comes, there's a new echo for it. Maybe they crash on. There's endless amount of things that they can crash on about on whatever ways, but it will have to align with a new game coming out that they can jump ship to, that is very highly popular, that everybody's looking forward to. And I really hope and pray it's not NTE.
So cringe, because I don't have a particular allegiance to any of these games. I just play them because they're fun, right? One game does something more fun than another, I'll go play it, right? Like 3.0 is going to drop. It's going to be the big hit, right? Then 4.0 for HSR is going to drop. I'm going to go play that. Obviously, I'm playing Enfield when that comes out, right? I just go through like all these games and I just get whatever fun I have from it. I don't feel a particular allegiance, but there are a lot of people who are like super jaded with like Hoyo and just want to shit on everything that has to do with it.
Yes.
And so they don't like, as a result, they don't look at like the things that could be better within their own community or their own game. And I find that really boring because there's like an interesting discussion to be had there. When is the last time you heard someone legitimately talking about endgame like I just did? I feel like it doesn't happen, or at least I haven't seen it prominently.
Maybe it don't touch when it resets, but then again, it only resets once a month. That is a bad thing. They either need more endgame or they need it to cut down the time, and the only reason why they bring the timer so wide is because they don't want to give out as much gems as normal, which is just
not thrive if it's held and built up by spite. I don't play Wuwa, but I want to get into it, but it's hard because I see a lot of negativity on the surface. Yeah, I feel that too.
You see exactly what I was talking about. That these are things manifesting to you in real life as I go through this video. Like, I did not watch this video because I saw it from Renin and I say, okay, this looks like a really good video for me to react to on the channel. And I say, okay, I'm gonna save it for later. And it turned out to be exactly really good. Exactly. It's like the people get deterred for how toxic the community is for whatever it is, all thanks to one man saying tontas.
Too. Like, even me personally, as a Wuthering Waves primarily content creator, right? If you look at all my content, I mostly make Wuwa content. The majority of my channel, most of my videos, most of my subscribers come from Wuthering Waves. But I feel jaded because the community is like so often negative. Even just there, like just now, we have like when I was playing, say like HSR for example, I have like Wuthering Waves players coming into the game and just shitting on it. When I was playing Enfield, in my comments, like the people shitting on Enfield right now in my comments on any video I make, every single one of them is a Wuthering Waves player, and they come from very specific communities. I don't like.
Holy so this breaks the narrative, because I was hearing that people are gonna say that it's the Hoyo community that's gonna doom post on this game, but it's not. Interesting, but then again, it's subjective. I don't know if it's for everybody. It's unfortunate. I don't know if Genshin Impact will see Ethereum restart as a competition for Genshin Impact, because it's, as I said many times, like the real competition that I see for Genshin Impact is Azure Familia. That is the only thing I see that can compete with them, because Genshin Impact is on the casual, colorful, beautiful world type of gameplay. That's why Wuthering Waves didn't get to compete with them directly, because they're selling a completely different product. Azure Familiar is basically the same thing, but on steroids and with Pokemon. If they can survive the lawsuit that they probably is gonna get from Nintendo, they will do very, very well. I just don't want the toxic part. I don't even want to associate them with the world community, the toxic Hoyo haters, to find themselves in Azure Familiar either, because like I will definitely be playing that. I will put a lot of hours in that. I think it's gonna be one of my main games in the future. That is not a Hoyo game. I think that's how much I'm really looking forward to it.
Like that. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to be like attached to that part of the community. I would rather engage with the community in a more interesting, healthy manner, rather than like the spitefulness that exists currently, that just exists to shit on every other game. I wouldn't even say like promote Wuthering Waves, because it's not even doing that. They don't like help.
No, they do. They overglaze Wuthering Waves, but it hurts them. It's a double-edged sword, because you're setting an unrealistic expectation for Wuthering Waves. Like, this would be like if I'm going into an average anime with my expectations that I normally have when I start watching My Hero Academia episode or Demon Slayer episode. It's just not gonna be there. I'm just gonna be extremely disappointed. My hopes are gonna be high as hell, and then the reward is just gonna be bad. And then I'll just feel like I'm getting scammed. And that's what happened. They're hurting the community, the game itself, in so much ways, backwards and forwards. And until they leave is the only time that this game is gonna get any better. It's just not right now.
Make Wuthering Waves better. They're not pushing for anything that would make Wuthering Waves better, like better endgame content. It doesn't promote it to other interesting people, right? So many people are turned off because of the community as it is currently, right? There'd be so many more players playing the game because of that. It's an extremely often comment I get.
Yes,
that
I did
when they see me, a Wuthering Waves content creator, just not actively shitting on every single gacha game, they feel like it's a breath of fresh air, which is crazy.
Exactly. You don't know how I'm pissed off. How Sainton does single-handedly kicked out Maggie, one of the best guide maker, tier crafter, content creators for Wuthering Waves. Somebody that I look to in order to build my teams as well. All because she didn't want to engage with him, and rightfully so, because like he weird.
That's actually crazy to me. Like the fact that I, as like a Wuwa content creator, I go play Genshin, I don't shit on the game, and that's like a standout. That doesn't make sense to me. It legitimately.
And I'm confident that when come to Genshin Impact, you don't see a bunch of people saying, "Why are you playing Genshin Impact? Go back to Winter Ways" and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you don't see that. I see people probably trying to help him out and help him with decision making and say like, "Oh, Bennett, you should build Bennett, you should be Chanley, you should build Official, you should build Sucrose." Those are really, really strong 4-star units that are gonna come in very, very helpful for you. You should build Shinko. I believe that is what he heard when he started playing Genshin Impact. I think he was welcomed. And I don't feel like there's this welcomed mentality from the Wooden side. It's more of like, you're now on Wuwa, so you should glaze Wuwa. And if you don't glaze Wuwa, and if you don't make Wuwa always look better than Genshin Impact, then you're not needed here. And it's just a toxic positivity community. Again, I
It does not make
say
sense.
I hate that I'm yapping so much on this video in particular. It's just because it's just something that I'm so passionate about, because many people don't know this, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I spend money on Wooden Waves. It's gonna be toxic as hell to say this. I'm gonna pull the genocide here, but initially when I launched Wooden Waves, I spent money to buy the battle pass for a while on the game, because like, then again, I had money to spare. I was irresponsible with money, but it's beyond the point. Like, I was legitimately definitely giving Wooden Waves a shot. Like, at that time, I realized that, okay, I went into the game with whole your expectations, and the story just did not hit. It did not hit. It had so much issues story wise. Like, I didn't feel any bugs gameplay wise, because like my device was able to power through all of that. I wasn't aware of that. I did see that it was a little bit blurrier than normal, but I put it to the side. The story was just not good. The character stories just felt so long, so boring. It may sound like I'm just shitting on the game, but like, everything has to do with expectations when it comes to life. If you go in eating a normal fruit and you're expecting the bitter taste, and you have another guy going eating that same normal fruit and they're expecting the sweetest taste, the person that's gonna enjoy the whatever that fruit is that I just mentioned more will be the one that's coming in with low expectations, because they're gonna get more of it, more than what they were anticipating. The person that coming with the highest expectation, they're not gonna get anything, because it's they set it so high that whatever this is just doesn't feel good. And I feel like that's what happening here. I'm sorry, I'm not so coming, because it's after 4 in the morning. I'm very tired. I'm almost finished with this.
The point is this: I think Wuthering Waves,
and I didn't want to yap that much, but like, it's just something that I relate with so good, because I wanted Wuthering Waves to be successful, because if Wuthering Waves was successful, it would mean more competition from Genshin Impact, which means that Genshin Impact had to shape up. But because they just dropped the ball completely, Hoyo just decided that, okay, we can continue doing our predator practices, because Wuwa didn't want to take over. Wuwa just wanted a piece of the pie.
needs systems in the game for players to interact with that have some depth. I think Stygian Onslaught allows you to interact with the combat mechanics more, so there's depth in there that you can explore, more than Tower, where you're clearing it insanely easily. If I go play my Zoni team, for example, I'm clearing Tower with more than half a timer left. Not a fan of that, because what that means is that, well, I'm not even using like signatures and whatnot, right? So it should even be even faster. But what that means is most players aren't going to have to even try to clear endgame. That means that they're not going to engage with the actual systems in the game, actually having to learn the combat and whatnot, right? And as a result,
okay, so it's exactly what I was saying.
There is no discussion to be had there. There's nothing interesting extracted from the gameplay of the game, and it just makes a worse environment overall. What the Genshin community has with Stygian, since Stygian came out, is more people understand more about the meta, because meta content is more interesting to make, right? gameplay is more interesting to do because it's harder to do because
The thing I don't like about the toxic community is that they actively force out good content creators off of their ways. I'm thankful that they haven't gone off their Sweetly yet, but if Sweetly make so much of a mistake of spreading something that is how your players can use to attack Sweetly, the core boss will attack her. It's just the nature of it because they have nothing to do really.
you get to have a higher ceiling, right?
They are the ones that always complain about people not having jobs, while the people that have jobs are the ones that are complaining about the issues.
More interesting mechanics that spawn, or like more interesting strategies. That's the word. The actual strategies that spawn as a result of having
Why is it
Stygian
always
are
this,
way
like-
more interesting in Genshin because of that. You learn how to use characters' kits even more. You learn depth, like having an auto attack on facial to proc certain mechanics, or same with Zhongli, right? Those are like small things, but small things accruing over every single
It's
boss is
weird.
more than the nothing we have now. It could even be like big things, like you do the Movica charge attack cancel that makes her DPS super high, right? So now she can clear like endgame modes or whatever without wailing. There's a lot more depth that could be extracted out of.
No, Mavika is very strong. Mavika is the strongest DPS in the game, and she's rumored to be getting even stronger, which is insane. She's very strong.
Wuwa if we had a system like this, but we don't. People
Mind you, that's on speculation, so don't take me 100% serious. That's what I've been hearing. I cannot confirm that. That's what I've been hearing.
complain about combat or the lack of combat events. I don't think they actually want combat events. I think they want Stygian. They just don't know it. There was like
You're right. People just want an event where they can play, have replayability, because like after you finish the story, that's it. There's nothing much to do.
who's the guy who said if I
That's why the UCG mood in Genshin Impact was such a beautiful idea, because it gives people so much. Like there's so much thing that Genshin Impact is doing right now that if when whatever is implemented, they would benefit from it a lot. They would benefit a lot from the UCG system. They would benefit a lot from the Stingent Onslaught. They would benefit a lot from these two game modes alone if they can implement it. And there's nothing wrong with that. People won't say that they're maybe me that they're copying, but like it is what it is. I understand that they're taking inspiration from one another, but I think having these two would be something really good to play with.
asked the consumers what they wanted, they would ask me for a faster horse instead of a car. Was that Henry Ford? I forget. Anyway, I think this is the same situation. People say that they want things like combat events. I don't think you want combat events. You don't want combat. Actually, no, I know you don't want combat events. What you want is you want Stygian Onslaught. Anyway, if you like these kind of talks, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my review for Arcanite's Enfield after 50 hours in the beta right here.
All right, that's nice. Okay, so my thoughts, as I've stated, like, very sorry for the Yap Fest. It's just that it's something that I'm very passionate about. I know most of my content, sometimes it does seem like I'm just being way too harsh on whatever it is. And the reason for that is that I genuinely love whatever it is. And I just don't like what happened to whatever it is because of these toxic content creators that instead of making whatever it is develop into actual competition, they silence any negativity. They try to criticize anybody that does try to paint whatever it is or address an issue that needs to be addressed. They shame us for not having the highest level of gaming PC in order to run through the bugs that people constantly complain about. I could go on, really and truly, but I'm just very, very tired. I hope you guys enjoy. Please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I will be doing some more reaction videos. There's so much more to go through. I had to take a break because I was so burnt out from the first 3 videos that I had to make and edit and everything like that. And I even had to scrap a large video because like it just keep getting interrupted. These 2 videos got interrupted, so I have to do editing on them, which is gonna take way longer. and then the Gacha Wars or the Game Awards is coming up right around the corner too. So I have to make a video on that. There's so much interesting things, and I do want to catch up on my Hoyo games so I can understand where Saint Tontos is coming from with his hate videos. And there's a few other content creators that you guys requested me to react to, so I will be doing those as well. There's just so much I have to do. It is what it is. It's a great video. I'm glad I took the time to react to it. I said a lot, I know, but it's just because I really care about this. They should definitely add stygian in Wither Waves, in my opinion. At the end of the video, I do believe they should add it because it will give people something to work towards. I really do. Or they should take the existence of the holograms and like revamp that and make that an endgame mode where it repeats itself. That would be really good for people in terms of replayability, because the thing with the endgame modes currently in Wither Waves and the holograms is once you play them through, that's it, and then you're done for the month for the endgame modes, and then it's done forever for the holograms. There's no real reason to go back and to challenge these things. Anyways, I really need to get some sleep. Like, I'm gonna sleep first, and then I'm going to react to this after. I'm going to like edit these stuff and then put it out. I'll see you guys next time.